Happy Devils Friday. This is the Woo Report. The Woo Report, episode 279, titled, What Will It Take to Make Timo Meier a Devil, a New Jersey Devil? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I see Ryan Huttner saying, do it, but the smart way. Max says, good afternoon, Sam. Good afternoon, Max. Those here on the East Coast, triple header Friday for you folks as the Devils will take on the Dallas Stars tonight. Game day live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with Shorts Guy filling in for Vinny Parisi. Vinny Parisi's hatred for the Dallas Stars continues. And also Devils After Dark after the game. Scotty, SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was before the Devils break for All-Star Week. Anyway, so Timo Meier's name has been in the rumor mill. It's been such a hot topic, and we've talked about this topic here on the Woo Report State of Fan Address, Let's Go Devils Podcast Sunday edition, and all of our podcasts here on the Let's Go Devils Network. As I'm sitting here in the primetime radio studios in that undisclosed location bunker, I'm thinking, you know what? It's going to take a lot to get Timo Meier. And some of you Devils fans may ask yourselves, would you trade Jesper Bratt as part of a deal to get Timo Meier to New Jersey? You're going to have to give up assets. There is no way, even the great Tom Fleece Gerald, the New Jersey Devils GM, there is no way you can poach Timo Meier from San Jose Sharks without giving up assets. Could you actually fit Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt alongside Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton long-term under big contracts? That is the question. Quentin Conry and the YouTube Live says Holtz would have to be in the deal. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jesper Bratt, with contract negotiations being slow, reading up some of this in other publications, it makes you wonder. Because Jesper Bratt's going to cost you a lot of money. But Timo Meier, yes, you would want both. But Timo Meier, I'll tell you, if you package someone like Jesper Bratt, who was a 6th-round pick, and you package for Timo Meier, who was a 9th overall pick in 2015, Devils make out ahead. But do you want to trade Bratt? Is he one of the core leadership players on this team? It's really Jack Hughes' team, and this is a hard question to ask. It's not that I have anything against Jesper Bratt. I'm talking about value. Does Jesper Bratt have value that would entice the San Jose Sharks to make that trade? Now, it's not like the New Jersey Devils are the only teams that would vie for the services of Timo Meier. You got to understand that. There are other teams around. There's competition. So you have to put your best foot forward if you're going to make a commitment and try to extract Timo Meier from the San Jose Sharks to New Jersey. Plus, you would have to have the intestinal fortitude to also pay Timo Meier long term. Otherwise, it's going to be an expensive rental. And the Devils, well, in The Athletic, Pierre LeBrun wrote a piece about the mindset really of Tom Fitzgerald is they're really a year ahead of schedule. And remember what happened back in 2017 and 2018, and I always call it the fool's gold season, where we thought the Devils were on their way after 2015, 2016, and then 2017, 2018 season. They make the playoffs, MVP caliber. Taylor Hall. After that Adam Larson trade, we thought the fleecing of the Edmonton Oilers by Rafe Shero, then Devils GM, that we were going to the promised land, and then reality hit. Tom Fitzgerald eventually took over as interim GM, and so far he's made the moves, and he has to be patient, folks. He has to be patient. Do you wait possibly down the line for the services of Timo Meier, or do you strike a deal now when the team literally is a year ahead of schedule, according to Tom Fitzgerald, through Pierre LeBrun's article in The Athletic? And the Devils have to be shrewd here. And in the article as well, and we know this, that Tom Fitzgerald wants to have a healthy salary cap culture in New Jersey, kind of like what the Devils had years ago, which was a virtual salary cap. Back in those days, the NHL did not have a salary cap, but Lou Lamoriello and John McMullen had a virtual salary cap where you operate within your means. And I think that's a smart thing, because a salary cap strap team can be a problematic issue down the line. And Quentin says, we have enough money for Bratt and Meier in the offseason, $35.7 million, if I'm not mistaken. But you still need to pay for other players. Are you going to risk other positions by not re-signing other players long term? You got to ask yourself, are you willing to allow Ryan Graves and Damon Severson to walk and go through the growing pains of Luke Hughes and Simon Nemitz as their possible replacements, or with Nikita Hoytuk and Kevin Ball? You have to ask those hard questions. The direction of the team. Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt on the top two lines, it will be a very top-heavy bunch of talented forwards. And yes, you have the money, but do you need to spend it? Because these are long-term contracts, folks. And remember, all this time, Tom Fitzgerald, even Ray Shero for that matter, had the salary cap to be weaponized and take advantage and get players through shrewd trades because they had the salary cap room. They were able to acquire assets. They were able to make moves that other teams couldn't make. Just because you have the salary cap and you have the space does not automatically mean that you spend it. And it's the truth. You don't spend all the way to the cap, because there could be repercussions with long-term contracts that Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt are looking for. Notice that Tom Fitzgerald signed many two-year deals, like Tomas Tatar. It's basically a 2-year out, or even Nikita Gusev at the time. There were a lot of 2-year deals that suddenly came off the books, but Jesper Bratt and Timo Meier are they're the kind of players that you don't give 2-year deals. It's a 7 or 8 year commitment. Long term, lots of money. Usually a no trade clause or no movement clause with a list of teams. Your leverage of improving the team down the line could be hampered if the salary become dead weight on the entire franchise of the New Jersey Devils. And you got to think far ahead. Injuries happen. Unexpected things happen. You have to take the risk assessment. Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, signed long-term. Look how friendly those contracts are looking now with the salary cap. Now, there was some risk there. The Devils were shrewd enough to take risks to give Jack Hughes that long-term contract and signed after that shoulder injury early in the season. At that point, Jack Hughes had shown glimpses of brilliance, but up until that point, he's never played a full 82-game season. So far, he's on pace to do something like that or close to that this season. That's a good step, but that contract was signed beforehand. You got to be careful what you spend, but also the assets that you give up. And I've said this, and I've said this time and time again, that do not cut off the spigot of the pipeline if you're going to make a deal for Timo Meier. Sometimes players that you trade, it's going to be tough. But San Jose is not they're not dumb. They know what they can get. And they're going to probably ask for a lot of assets. Are the Devils Stanley Cup contenders? Are the Devils, do you really believe the Devils are going to win the Stanley Cup this year? And is it worth it? Timing is everything, folks. Timing is everything. And in my opinion, if the deal is right, and it checks off the lists of not giving up the pipeline, not giving up the assets, the core assets, I should say, because you're going to have to give up a lot to get Timo Meier. But you got to think long-term, folks. Is it worth it? Again, in that Pierre LeBrun article in The Athletic, they talk about a healthy salary cap culture. Because that's very important, because that is a team concept. Robert Larson says, hello from Norway, Sam. Hello, Robert. We also have Andre from Norway as well. We've got a lot of Norwegians that watch this podcast. Ted, 1775 says hello. Happy Devil's Friday to you, Ted. As we're doing a bonus edition of the Woo Report. But think about it, folks. Think about it. The Devils are going to have to give up a lot for Timo Meier. I know there's a lot of emotional excitement about this team. But let's not make the same mistake. Let's not make the same mistake after Taylor Hall. Let this team grow organically, and let's be patient with it. Enjoy the ride of the season. Let's see what the playoffs tell us how good this team is. Regular season, you play the games to place in the playoffs or not. In the playoffs, that's really the true test, how good your team really is. Now, I will say, folks, that the Devils have shown signs of maturity. The one thing I love under Lindy Ruff is that these kids don't quit. You saw that last night. Forget about the result. You've watched that whole 60-minute game or 65 minutes or a little bit extra in the shootout. You never gave up on this team this year because you knew confidently something could happen. When that goal was scored and they were just a little behind, a little bit behind the Nashville Predators, they still had a chance. They still had a chance. Unfortunately, the empty net goal that Nashville scored made it 6-4. But they were within one. And they played poorly most of the game. Absolutely poorly. So think about this team. That is something in their character that is very positive right now. That makes me feel confident that the playoffs, that they're just not going to get steamrolled in the first round. Because their ability to gut it out, and I truly believe, remember the first 2 games of the season, especially after game 1, where Miles Wood was just absolutely beside it. He was so pissed off of losing to the Flyers game 1 that he didn't want to be on a loser team anymore. And remember the article I wrote on pucksandpitchforks.com that the Devils hate losing more than they love winning. They don't like to lose, folks. And that is something that's so valuable within the team itself, led by Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt. And I'll even say Damon Severson in there. They don't want to lose anymore. They want to win. And they're not going to give up. Don't ever give up. The comeback kids, 15 comeback wins, should tell you something. They're not going to get steamrolled in the playoffs. Shane Fransickle says, Sam, do you think the bottom 6 has to be upgraded and adjusted? Little upgrade won't hurt. Definitely adjusted. I think Eric Holla is more comfortable on the third line than the top 6. But I don't mind Eric Holla playing the top 6 in the regular season with Jack Hughes. Reason why? Well, sometimes you need to have those serviceable players that can play both bottom 6 and top 6. One of those players years ago was Sergei Brylin, the interchangeable part. Because when the team needs that player, you can have a reliable player to be that player who can play all 4 lines. And I don't mind that. But it does need to be adjusted a little bit. And that third line, and I've said this over and over and over again, that, I think that the smaller trades will have the bigger impact by trade deadline. Timo Meier, I think, is too expensive. Unless San Jose is crazy and really needs to move his contract. Right now, the Devils have all the leverage here. They can survive without Timo Meier, but San Jose, they are in a different place in their franchise. Got a compliment here from Salvador de Prita. It says, found the pod recently and love the coverage of my hometown team all the way from Oakland, California. Mercer has to be untouchable in any trade talks. Absolutely. Dawson Mercer is one of the most impactful players so far from that 2020 draft, and he was selected further down the line than Alexander Holtz. Mohamed Dolan, we don't know too much about him. He's still in Russia. Alexander Holtz, his name could be in a lot of trade rumors, or already is, at least by Devils fans. But I agree. I think Mercer has to be definitely untouchable unless you offer Connor McDavid, which not going to happen. And Timo Meier is not Connor McDavid. He's a great player, but he's not Connor McDavid. Let's see here. There's no Quentin jersey, says Max. Quentin says, I can see Holt, Severson, 23, first round, second round pick, maybe Foot or someone else from Utica who can't make the roster. Again, what I'll say it and say it again, in 2023, that is a deep draft class that I'd rather not give assets for. But again, you're going to have to pay the price for Timo Meier, and you know what? I just don't think it's worth it. I really don't. I love Timo Meier as a player, but to give up that, I don't mind the Holtz and Severson because Severson's on an expiring contract. But right now, I think Severson is proving his worth right now. His stock is high. And you know what? He could go. But again, I'm more worried about the first and second round pick in 2023. Don't discount the pipeline. These draft picks are people and players of the future too. You do not want to cut that pipeline of the future. You always want that flowing. Remember that. Just remember that. Max says, Sam, did you talk about the Buffalo trade idea I sent you? I was on work. You already did. Apologies if that's the case. No, I have not, Max. Matter of fact, I was going to save it for a different episode, actually. I thought that was very interesting. Sorry, I would like to talk about it, but you know what? We got no Devils hockey for a week. I got to kind of spread the love for next week as well. But I thought that was an interesting idea involving Miles Wood and the Buffalo Sabres. But I don't want to give too much what Max was saying because I thought it was an interesting proposal. And I like to hear yours as well, all your proposals. But all right, folks, I'm just going to look in the Facebook Live as well. Michael, hey, are you going to the February 25th $500,000 party? I'm telling you, this month of January is our best month ever. It surpassed November of 2022 as the most downloads, monthly downloads, and we still have about 4 more days in January of downloads, so it is a record month, folks. Thanks you to fans that have stuck with us even during the pandemic and 9.5 months of no hockey. You'll deal with us with 9.5 days of no Devils hockey. All right. You'll have All-Star game. We'll talk about the rumors. It's like the boy says, we don't want to end up like the Toronto Maple Leafs in the past, giving out draft picks like parking tickets in New York. Newark, sorry. Ted says February 25th, we'd like to meet you all there. We'd like to meet you, Ted, as well. It's going to be a lot of people. I suggest you get there early at American Whiskey, 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center, across the street from Devil's Den store, next to Championship Plaza. Because, I like to meet everybody. It's going to be tough because there's going to be a lot of people there. But that's okay. We will be entertaining you, folks, at American Whiskey. There's going to be a lot of drinks. 21 or older for the drinks. Those type of drinks. The adult beverages. But, yeah, it's going to be a great time. Martin Rosario. Thank you for the super chat. I say give up Black in a package for Meier. That could possibly be. I'm not saying Mackenzie Blackwood is expendable, but his stock is high. Last night was not his fault. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for Mackenzie Blackwood, I thought the Devils would have been. If Blackwood was on his A game, that could have been a double-digit amount of goals for the Nashville Predators. They put on a beating on the Devils, and they weren't ready defensively. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martin, for the super chat. And thank you in the YouTube Live. Mackenzie Blackwood? Would you do it? I like the tandem right now. I really do. Long term, I don't, but I like the tandem right now. But Kier Schmidt did prove himself in that 7-game stretch when Blackwood was out. But again, Could it be? Would the San Jose Sharks bite? And you dangle Blackwood? Alexander Holtz. Wouldn't that be something? It's amazing what Vitek Vanacek has done for the Devils. And that trade to the Washington Capitals, basically swapping picks and throwing another pick. And they got Vanacek, who has been very, very good. And great for your New Jersey Devils. Max says, imagine John Gillies in that game. Yeah, imagine the Hamburglar. The Hamburglar. Andrew Hammond in the game. In the game last night. Ted says, last December, Nashville beat Devils and Vanacek 4-3 in OT. Yeah, I mean, Nashville kind of figured out the Devils. It was kind of like the blueprint. That's what I said. Because I still don't count the November 23rd game when the Devils played the Toronto Maple Leafs 13-game winning streak. Like, the refs really pissed us off. Refs pissed us off yesterday, although after looking at the replay like 5 times last night, you can sort of make a case, but not really, about Mackenzie Blackwood, Mac Black getting a tripping penalty. That was kind of BS as far as I'm concerned. But yeah. All right, wrapping the podcast up, dropping it in 20 minutes for your afternoon commute back home. Game Day Live. Shorts Guy and I will pregame. Devils take on the Dallas Stars, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then Devils After Dark after the game. Scotty, a SiriusXM Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was. Remember, February 25th, our $500,000 party. We hope to see you there. It is going to be a great event. I'm not hyping this up just to hype it up, say. I really, truly believe this could be one for the ages. We'll have a lot of memories from that event. If you don't have a ticket to the game, well, you can watch the game with some of us at the bar. The bar has become a great place for viewing parties as well for home games. Last Devils-Rangers game, it looked like the bar was almost full at American Whiskey. Also, I'll try to get Adam Hamway there. Maybe we'll play Blades of Steel on the big TV sometime beforehand, but can't make any promises, but you never know. You never know. And maybe Jack Hamilton will appear. That's dedicated to you, Ted 1775. Again, Martin Rosario, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I mean Blackwood was good, but Bet Vanacek saves a couple of those. Just saying. You know what? You could be right. Who knows? The beauty of it, you just never know. But I think right now, I think we all want Timo Meier. But at what cost? That remains the question. And will it ever happen? We shall see. We shall see, folks. We saw what Ottawa gave up for DeBrincat. You never know. With Tom Fleece Gerald, you never know. Of course, Fitzgerald, the Fitzy, is interested in Meier. But make him sweat, Fitzy. We'll see what happens. Dropping the podcast again in 20 minutes for your afternoon commute. Hands 10 and 2 on the wheel, 9 and 3 if you prefer. See you at 7:30 p.m. at Game Day Live. Till next time, this is the Woo Report. Let's go Devils.